Soar above with those who dare to look at the world from a new perspective and ask, what if? You're listening to the Altitude Podcast from Eagleview.
Hi, I'm Piers Dormeyer, CEO of Eagleview Technologies. On this show, we bring you stories of pioneers who are redefining the boundaries of their fields. Today's guest is CEO and Principal of Interstate Roofing, among other companies, Scott Riopelle. Scott is an industry evangelist and mentor, and he's got a pretty incredible life story. I'm excited to talk to him about his life experiences and the methods behind his business success. I'd love to hear about you and your story. You run a big business. Wasn't always that way.
No.
I love to understand, my favorite question to ask folks in the roofing business. How did that happen? How'd you get into the biz?
It was by accident. When I got into the business, it wasn't cool to be a roofer. Nobody had Lamborghinis when I got in the business. It's the only place that would hire me, I came across the country from Detroit, ended up in Colorado via New Mexico and Wyoming, and I had some friends in the roofing business. And I met them at a local club, and they said, "Hey, you should start knocking doors." And I started knocking doors, and within a few years, I opened my own. I opened my own company. So it was a very quick progression for me.
Yeah, and you started by focusing on the restoration side of the business, right?
Correct. Hail damage. I mean, I the Denver, I think it was like the 97 or 98 hailstorm in Denver is when I started.
It's funny how those key dates, you talk to roofers and they remember months and dates for very different reasons than most people.
Right. Yeah. It's all relative, the dates, right?
Yeah.
Them are my anniversary dates.
Yeah. Yeah. So going from knocking doors to running a large enterprise, you do a lot more than restoration storm work now, right?
Oh yeah. I mean, it's been a lot of ups and downs. We've it hasn't always been easy, right? Like anything good in life is not easy, and we're taught that at a young age. But some of it's harder for others than some. And, I've had a lot of adversity to get where I'm at today. And, full circle, my story is very, it's not all wins, right? I didn't have all wins to get here. I had a lot of losses. And, not being ashamed of them and being able to face my fears and check my ego and get my differences in line has helped me get where I'm at in life, right? And where I'm at is full circle. I've now, joined private equity. May will be a year. I'm extremely happy. And, it's our story's different, right? Because I'm fortunate that in my 25 to 30 plus years of this business, I've been able to have over 100 millionaires I've made, right? And now with the private equity involved, we've been able to go back and I've been able to reconnect and repartner with my friends, with the brands of my friends, with Pro West, with ODB, with 5 Stars. So I've been able to go and reconnect with all these old connections that I've had throughout the years. So, I mean, the point of that story is you never know who your next partner is going to be. So treat them all equally.
Yeah. Yeah. No, wise words. And, I know some of you, we've been friends for a long time. So I know some of the hills that you've climbed and you've fallen down and you've gotten up every time much stronger than how you started. But, what are some of those challenges you had to overcome when you were growing the business coming up?
There's many, right? And I think back to to 2004, another date, July 24, 2004, I was leaving an AA meeting and I got hit by a drunk driver. and killed my top salesman and my best friend. I woke up in a coma 10 weeks later, and all while we were doing 80 to 100 roofs a week. My company, just because my people, my friends, my partners, they all stood by me while I was in that coma in that hospital. I had to relearn how to walk, and I had to relearn how to rehabilitate and do my life again. I had such a great, amazing team that they got me through that I woke up and I was, like that saying goes, God does for you what you can't do for yourself. So he got me out of the way. It wasn't the best way, but I was out of the way, and my company was able to run successfully without me. And that was a true testament of the kind of people that I have in my organization and the partnerships that I have and had.
Yeah, that's incredible. I was just having this conversation with some folks in my at our company just yesterday about critical talent, and critical talent is not the same as top talent, right? Top talent, you want as much top talent as you can get. You want as few critical talent as possible. And when I say critical, I mean the kind of people that if they went away, your whole business would shut down. And that means having folks under you that you can develop and grow so that if something bad does happen, it's not going to be the end of everybody's job because you didn't have the redundancy in your system built in. So it's really critical. And I think your example is like perfect to highlight that.
Yeah. I mean, I was so fortunate and just because it wasn't, you're right. It was about the people and out of that group of people have spun amazing companies, right? Like amazing friendships, amazing. And to the point where I'm honored that I have all these guys that have come for me in the roofing industry, that have worked for me, that have come through my ranks. I know a lot of people get upset, but not me. It's America. I am truly happy and honored and blessed that these people want to take my business model and they want to make a life and a family for themselves. I think that is an amazing gift that I was given, that I was able to bless people with what I've been truly blessed with.
Yeah, I'd love to pick more on that. I mean, how did you come to this? It's not natural. You don't talk to a lot of people when the first thing that comes to mind is this idea of mentorship. And that's a priority for you. That's a key part of your philosophy. You mentioned it a couple of times. You mentioned that you've made 100 millionaires. How did that thinking evolve? How did that priority really kind of come to be?
It felt good. When I was a little kid, I was in juvenile hall as a young kid. I grew up on the streets of Detroit. I didn't have any mentorship. I didn't have a father. I had a mother that had me when she was 15. I wasn't supposed to be here. And, I found the program of Alcoholics Anonymous, and it taught me how to, it changed my life. It taught me how to be sober and to give back. And I remember that feeling of helping somebody out, and it helped me feel good about myself for the first time in a long time. I had low self-esteem. I had, no courage. My sales ability was there, but it wasn't refined. And I feel like giving back to other people really helped me develop to who I am today.
Yeah, it's incredible, and it's one of those reinforcing loops, right? The more people you help, the more it comes back around, and you get better at it, and it becomes a fueling passion. So I love to ask leaders across all kinds of businesses about technology adoption and how they think about trends. And I know your story about how you found Eagleview, and because I've told it to others before. You want to share that one?
Yeah, it's funny. As I live in Colorado, and shingles when I started were $6 a bundle or $7 a bundle, right? And at that time, Xactimate, insurance adjusters were starting to use Xactimate, and I realized that nobody knew how to measure a roof, including myself. And I had some diagram paper, and I realized how much material was being grossly overordered or grossly underordered and it affected the profit of a job, of a re-roof job, right? Depending on this pitch, insurance adjusters wouldn't get on there. So I had a thought one day. There was a kid who I went and hired a kid who worked for me who was a rock climber. And I said, hey, where's your rock climbing gym? And he goes, oh, we just opened a new one down the road. I said, can I come there? So I went and I put a flyer up there because I wanted to hire all the rock climbers. And this is back in the old days when they had the fold-up ladders. They didn't have the telescoping ladders. So I went and bought like 6 folding ladders, and I put straps on them so they could put them on their backs and they could get on their crotch rockets. So to save on gas, and I would pay them $25 a diagram and a material order. So they would go to the job, and they'd get on the job, and they'd diagram the job out. They'd figure out, calculate how many squares, what the waist was, what the ridge, what the hip was, what the starter was, all the material, everything that you guys do today, I was doing by hand on graph paper. And that probably saved my business. Like, I'm not great with, at that time, my accounting wasn't great, but I bet you I was saving massive. It was a massive profit center for me to do that. And by doing that, it attracted all the salesmen, because all the salesmen seen that my jobs were so much more profitable because I had this measurement tool. And when we started hearing about Eagleview and all this, and I'll never forget, of course, Ryan, who came in, right? Ryan, yeah. Came into my office, this happy guy smiling, hey, we got some airplanes that'll do that for you. And I said, man, get out of here. You're crazy. And it took a minute, but I'll tell you what the straw that broke the camel's back for me is that I had a homeowner call me and say, he was an attorney. And he said, are you the owner? And I said, yeah. And he said, well, look, I don't know what's going on, but some guy just pulled up on a motorcycle, jumped on my truck, jumped on the gutter, and chivied his way up my roof. And he's up there with a tape measure. Do you really think that's safe? And I'm like, what do you mean? He got up there without a ladder? And of course he did, right? Because he was a rock climber. So they didn't use the ladders unless they had to. And I said, man, all right, I'm going to call this Eagleview guy and I'm going to give him a chance.
Yeah.
And that, I think, I mean, it had to have been in 2008, maybe. I'm not sure when you guys started, but
about then. Yeah. Yeah.
So I had to be one of your first accounts.
I just love the story about you're operating this business and you identified this problem, and it's sales guys don't want to climb on roofs and measure them. It's dangerous to climb on roofs and measure them. They're not doing a great job at it. So problem number one, find people who like climbing on roofs, right? So, go get the first edge, go hire all the rock climbing guys. And then as soon as you mastered that one, you see even a better solution come around the corner. And it's like, drop that one, get the next edge. And I think leading the pack as an early adopter and really understanding what the problem that you're trying to solve is key. And I think a lot of people miss that, and they just start buying tech for the sake of buying tech.
Right. And they don't realize that whatever that X dollar amount is so minor. Even back then, like, I have no idea how much Eagleviews were back then. Let's just say they were $20 an Eagleview 15 years ago, right? Well, shingles were $21 a square, $7 a bundle, or $8, whatever they were. If I saved one square of material, I paid for that Eagleview. And not to mention the felt, not to mention the start, not to mention everything else that I saved, right? And then I saved, and then the most important part is labor, because the roofers would just take all that extra material and throw it in their dumpster, in the dump trailer, and keep it in the back of their truck and still bill us for whatever we ordered. So it really made such a huge profit center for us as a company, and it really put us ahead of everybody else.
Yeah, back in 1921 when shingles were $7 a bundle. It's been a long time, man.
Yeah, I know. It really tells my age, man. All the gray, huh?
Oh my God. Hey, another question that's phenomenal. Another question that we get quite a bit is, this big trend of roofers beginning to offer solar both on residential and commercial projects. How are you guys thinking about that?
So, I got to tell you, I dabbled in solar. I tried to open a solar company to run parallel with my roofing company. And roofers are just not solar guys, and solar guys are just not roofers. It just does not mix, right? In my opinion. And I've had thousands of salesmen work. There's very few salesmen that can sell solar to roofing and roofing to solar. It's just the mind waves are so different, and the technology and the understanding of it, and and the watts and the this and the that and the squares, and it seems like it would be so easy to integrate. But I'm going to tell you, I knew that wasn't going to happen for me. I wasn't going to be able to integrate it. I'm a roofer. Roofing is simple. It's not rocket science. Roofing is not solar, and solar is not roofing. So for me, the two do not mix.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. I think people really got to do their homework, and I think the region really matters, and how you engage and partner and whatnot, it can really be the make or break.
Now, do I believe that roofing guy could be do I believe that a roofing company and a solar company can work together? Yes, we're successful at that. Mm-hmm. We work really well with our partners who run a solar company, who do the solar, and then we do the roofing, right? Because we stay in our lane, they stay in their lane, and we cross pollinate the leads to each other, right? Because they're going to do the solar the best that they can do, and we're going to do the roof the best that we can do. It's like you don't want a window guy to do your roof, or you don't want a siding guy to do your roof, right? Or you don't want the guy that plows the snow in Denver when it hails is all of a sudden a roofer, right? You don't want that. You want a roofer to be a roofer, and you want a solar guy to be a solar guy.
Yeah, very good.
In my opinion.
So here's another fun one for you as we're staying on this trends kind of topic. How do you see the roofing industry growing, evolving / changing over the next 5 to 10?
Well, I mean, let's just talk about this big announcement, right? I mean, the SRS Home Depot announcement, right? I was at the national championship with Home Depot on the Home Depot game day bus, and then all of a sudden they announced a couple weeks ago that they're buying Home Depot. Home Depot's buying SRS, right? So, in my opinion, everything's consolidating, and I've had a fragment, like not every market, but a lot of markets is very difficult. The demand for shingles is much higher than what they're able to make because of the new home. I mean, all the baby boomers are selling their houses, all the new builds 20 years ago, all them shingles, because 20 years ago, a 20-year shingle was all that we could offer. So now all them shingles are starting to time out now. All them roofs are starting to time out. And I believe that the only way you're going to get the material and the labor and the roof, I believe that the roofing is consolidating. I believe that, it's going to be the big conglomerates are going to be the only ones that are going to be able to get the product. I mean, it's already happening. It's not about price. It's about when.
Yeah, and I think you're seeing the consolidation on the contractor side as well, right? You're seeing quite a bit of private equity and activity. How are you coaching these up-and-coming leaders that you're working with to stay ahead of these trends and this evolution?
So for me, I go to trade shows. I let my people. I empower them to make decisions. Right. I empower them to bring. Like I would have never met you or Eagleview if your last company you worked for, if I didn't at least look at that technology that was offered. It was way before its time. But like, there's so much technology I've seen over the years that didn't work 10 years ago that is now going to be able to work today. And that's where this business is going, right? Is that if you don't let your guys out beating the doors on the streets, on the roofs, bring this technology, and if you don't at least hear what these people have to say, you're going to be left behind. If you think that you're smart enough and you have it figured out, you're wrong, because I can't even tell you how many construction management softwares I've seen throughout the years. I mean, they come and go, right? And there's a couple good ones out there. And are you always going to be the best or the biggest? I don't know. I mean, maybe, but you're going to have to keep evolving to stay number one.
Yeah, no, the only thing constant is change, right? As they say.
Yeah. And we all know that, right?
Indeed. Well, I want to be respectful of your time, but I do want to give you the last word. Anything you'd like people to know about Scott Riopelle, Interstate, or anything else you have going on?
Yeah. So, our brand is One Solutions, and within our brand, we own five different, Danny Boy Roofing, Interstate Roofing, Pro West Roofing, 5 Stars Roofing, and A1 Roofing. And without great partners like Eagleview and all the shingle manufacturers and suppliers and all the relationships I've made throughout the years, I mean, some of my success is because I treated that counter guy and the guy who loaded my roof with the same respect that I treat you as the CEO. And it all comes around, right? Because you just never know who's going to be in what position next year in this business. You never know who's going to be your partner. You never know who you're going to need. So never big shot anybody, right? I learned at a young age, right? I've been humbled, right? I've been to the lowest of lows and I've been to the highest of highs. It hasn't been easy for me. I came from nothing. And my story is one that shows that hard work, good leadership, good mentorship, good partnerships got me to where I am today and are going to keep me moving, right? I got to keep open and I got to keep evolving, and what you see is what you get with Scott Riopelle, right? Like I might be this guy or that guy, but I'm never going to pretend to be somebody I'm not. And I'm always going to stick my hand out and introduce myself to you. I was taught that.
Great way to wrap it up. Thanks a lot for coming on. I know you've got a lot going on, so thanks for taking the time.
Nah, man, you know what? Like I said, it's, I think back to one of these last trips we were on and we went to that Greek restaurant. We're breaking the plate. I mean, it's just, there's so many like memories, right? Of where we've been and how we've got there. And like, it hasn't been easy. It hasn't been easy to be where you're at. I mean, to be where I'm at, to be out there knocking the door. We can't forget the guys out there giving the estimates, the guys out there driving the trucks. They're our partners. And without them and without good people, we can't sit here and do our job.
Absolutely. Thanks again. That's all for this episode of the Altitude Podcast from Eagleview. Again, I want to extend a huge thank you to Scott Riopelle for joining us to share his amazing story and perspectives. And thank you for tuning in. If you're enjoying the show, don't forget to subscribe, give a follow, and tell your friends about it. Again, I'm Piers Dormeyer. See you next time on the Altitude Podcast.